Listening Fanfiction presents Karakura Thugs by The Quiller, based on the manga series Bleach by DJ Kubo. Narrated for you by Sierra Vise. Things just hadn't been the same since that dreadful run-in with one Kurosaki Ichigo. It just wasn't right how the most feared delinquent in Karakura wasn't even, a real delinquent. Kurosaki Ichigo didn't smash vending machines or squat around street corners bumming cigarettes off his underlings. He didn't even have underlings. He was an honor student, a pretty boy, and a pansy. Someone who took way too many bathroom breaks and spontaneously passed out at odd moments. It was a mark of shame upon each and every true thug in Karakura that this imposter stayed seated on the throne. In true, honorable delinquent fashion, they followed the old golden rule. If you can't beat him up, then you should beat his friends up. Inoue Orihime was off limits, of course. She was cute. You don't hit cute girls. Of course, the fact that her other friend, Tatsuki Arasawa, had handed them their asses on a platter had absolutely nothing to do with anything whatsoever. Yasutaro Sado was not a cute girl. He was, however, 6.5 feet tall and punched like a wrecking ball. They took one look at him and kept on looking. Keigo Asano was worthless on his own. Unfortunately, his sister scared the crap out of all of them, and no one was particularly willing to risk Mizuho Asano's wrath. Besides, there was such a thing as being too pathetic, and beating down a weakling like Eigo wasn't anything to write home about. They weren't even sure Kurosaki was friends with Keigo, given how the former acted towards the latter. That left Mizuhiro Kojima, who looked like an ideal victim. A playboy, girly-faced, skinny, and clearly without any fighting skills whatsoever. Nothing threatening whatsoever. So they were understandingly shocked and confused when their ambush was met with a smile. A smile backed up by stun guns and pepper spray. And holy crap! Did he just throw a Molotov cocktail at them? After that ordeal, they were noticeably more cautious when approaching Ishida Uryu. One of them tailed him for an entire day, and another searched his bag during gym to make sure they wouldn't have a repeat of the Mizuhiro fiasco. Besides, anyone who ranked number 1 clearly spent all of their free time studying. It's not like he would have had time to practice a martial art or anything, right? They caught him after school in an empty parking lot. 10 minutes later, Ishida Uryu walked out of the parking lot, slightly annoyed, but also entirely unscathed. Sadly, the same could not be said of everyone else who had been in the parking lot with him. Demoralized, damaged, but still determined, the delinquents of Karakura had called an emergency strategy meeting underneath the Karakura bridge to reassess their method of attack. They had morosely agreed that perhaps their original targets were too well defended for head-on attacks, and that unless they found new ways of making Kurosaki Ichigo suffer, they would have to stoop to playing ding-dong ditch on the Kurosaki clinic, or tacking gum onto his seat at school. It only went downhill from there. Salvation, however, came in the form of a spontaneous new gaggle of friends that transferred to Karakura High a few months later, just as they were giving up hope. A red-haired tattooed hippie, a flaming homosexual fruitcake, a bald Yakuza wannabe, an elementary school student with a bad dye job, and a smoking hot blonde with the largest rack in living memory. Compared to the monsters in Kurosaki's inner circle, this would be a cakewalk. They went after the hippie first, since he seemed the closest to Kurosaki. In hindsight, they should have noticed the warning signs, because nobody could have that many tattoos while being a complete wuss. But at the same time, how could anyone remotely dangerous possibly wear a lime green vest with purple khakis at the same time? It boggled the mind. The red-haired hippie presented such an easy mark, camped outside a shady snack shop every night, probably in a tree-hugging protest of some sort, that it went against the thug honor code to just leave him alone. They swaggered up to him and started talking trash. He took one look at them and, disconcertingly, started laughing his butt off. He was still laughing his butt off as he walked off after he mopped the floor with them. Clearly, their strategy needed some reworking. It was now obvious that attacking the heavily tattooed badass had not been the wisest first move. The bald Yakuza wannabe and the fag with ridiculous eyelashes were obviously better targets. After all, they hung out with Keiko and birds of feather flocked together, right? As it turned out, opposites also happened to attract. Evidently calling a wooden sword a cheap piece of overcompensation that went out of fashion decades ago was a quick ticket to blissful unconsciousness. And calling those ridiculous eyelashes ugly peacock butt feathers was a quick way to make yourself wish you were unconscious, as opposed to suffering through the serenely savage curb stomp battle that had followed. What a truly epic and thorough butt-kicking it was. It took weeks for them to regain any feeling in their backsides. By then, the Karakura thugs had decided that it was time to abandon all semblance of pride. They would take no chances. Though their pride wanted to curl up in a corner and die, they decided that desperate times called for desperate measures, and if it took ganging up on an elementary school brat to regain their honor, then damn it, that's what they would do. Not that they needed the numbers, of course. The white-haired brat probably weighed less than 100 pounds sopping wet. But it couldn't hurt to be too careful. With Kurosaki's friends, you never knew. They had caught him on the bridge over the river. It was a nice, secluded location with nowhere to run. Unlike the others, the kid didn't seem remotely threatening. At least, not until they had taken his expensive-looking cell phone away from him and taunted him with it. Theft was a tried and true intimidation tactic after all. That was when the brat went very, very quiet as he glared at them. All of them took an involuntary step back. It wasn't the kitty, "Give me back my stuff, you big meanies!" Look, it was the, "I have had an absolutely crappy day and I am this close to snapping" look. At that point, uneasiness had started setting in, but if word got out that they had been scared off by a 12-year-old kid's stink eye, then they would never be able to show their faces around town again. The sudden darkening of the skies and the rumble of ominous thunder was pure coincidence, surely. They unwisely decided to throw the cell phone into the river as a threat. Half an hour later, they were still asking themselves, what the crap just happened? As they struggled to free themselves from the ice that had frozen them to the railing of the bridge. It was time to concede defeat. In the end, as they watched the peaceful sunset over the river, an epiphany struck, as epiphanies tend to, when you have nothing better to do but wait for the fire department to come around and pry you off a frozen railing. It was an epiphany born from suffering and enlightenment, breathtaking in its simplicity and beautiful in its elegance. It was the solution to all of their problems. Guys, I think we should leave Kurosaki alone. Every thug eagerly agreed and swore to never speak of the matter again. End of Karakura Thugs by The Quiller. If you enjoyed this recording or the content, feel free to leave a comment below or a review at the original story from the link in the descriptions. Thank you for listening.